Okay, how's it going, everybody? So we're gonna read some Lenin today. This is from the immediate task of the Soviet government, which was written in March to April 1918. There's 9 different sections here, but we're gonna read the organization of competition. This is so yeah, this is basically we'll get into this. We'll get into this right here. Okay. The organization of competition. Among the absurdities which the bourgeoisie are fond of spreading about socialism is the allegation that socialists deny the importance of competition. In fact, it is only socialism which, by abolishing classes, and consequently by abolishing the enslavement of the people, for the first time opens the way for competition on a really mass scale. And it is precisely the Soviet form of organization, by ensuring transition from the formal democracy of the bourgeois republic to real participation of the mass of working people in administration, that for the first time puts competition on a broad basis. It is much easier to organize this in the political field than in the economic field. But for the success of socialism, it is the economic field that matters. Take, for example, a means of organizing competition such as publicity. The bourgeois republic ensures publicity only formally. In practice, it subordinates the press to capital, entertains the mob with sensationalist political trash, and conceals what takes place in the workshops, in commercial transactions, contracts, etc., behind a veil of trade secrets, which protect the sacred right of property. Quote, the sacred right of property. End quote. The Soviet government has abolished trade secrets. It has taken a new path. We have done hardly anything to utilize publicity for the purpose of encouraging economic competition. While ruthlessly suppressing the thoroughly mendacious and insolently slanderous bourgeois press, we must set to work systematically to create a press that will not entertain and fool the people with political sensation and trivialities, but which will submit questions of everyday economic life to the people's judgment and assist in the serious study of these questions. Every factory, every village is a producers' and consumers' commune, whose right and duty it is to apply the general Soviet laws in their own way. Quote, in their own way, end quote, not in the sense of violating them, but in the sense that they can apply them in various forms. And in their own way to solve the problem of accounting in the production and distribution of goods. Under capitalism, this was a private affair of the individual capitalist, landowner, or kulak. Under the Soviet system, it is not a private affair, but a most important affair of state. We have scarcely yet started on the enormous, difficult, but rewarding task of organizing competition between communes, of introducing accounting and publicity in the process of the production of grain, clothes, and other things, of transforming dry, dead, bureaucratic accounts into living examples. Some repulsive, others attractive. Under the capitalist mode of production, the significance of individual example, say the example of a cooperative workshop, was inevitably very much restricted, and only those imbued with petty bourgeois illusions could dream of, quote, correcting capitalism through the example of virtuous institutions. After political power has passed to the proletariat, after the expropriators have been expropriated, the situation radically changes, and as prominent socialists have repeatedly pointed out, force of example for the first time is able to influence the people. Model communes must and will serve as educators, teachers, helping to raise the backward communes. The press must serve as an instrument of socialist construction, give publicity to the successes achieved by the model communes, in all their details, must study the causes of these successes, the methods of management these communes employ, and on the other hand, must put on the, quote, blacklist, end quote, those communes which persist in the traditions of capitalism, i.e. anarchy, laziness, disorder, and profiteering. In capitalist societies, statistics were entirely a matter for, quote, government servants, end quote. Or for narrow specialists, we must carry statistics to the people and make them popular so that the working people themselves may gradually learn to understand and see how long and in what way it is necessary to work, how much time, and in what way one may rest, so that the comparison of the business results of the various communes may become a matter of general interest and study, and that the most outstanding communes may be rewarded immediately by reducing the working day, raising remuneration, placing a larger amount of cultural or aesthetic facilities or values at their disposal, etc. When a new when a new class comes on to the historical scene as the leader and guide of society, a period of violent, quote, rocking, end quote, shock, struggle, and storm on the one hand, and a period of uncertain steps, experiments, wavering hesitation in regard to the selection of new methods corresponding to new objective circumstances, on the other, are inevitable. The moribund feudal nobility avenged themselves on the bourgeoisie which vanquished them and took their place, not only by conspiracies and attempts at rebellion and restoration, but also by pouring ridicule over the lack of skill, the clumsiness, and the mistake of the upstarts and the insolent, who dared to take over the sacred helm of state without the centuries of training, which the princes, barons, nobles, and dignitaries had. In exactly the same way, the Kornilovs and Kerenskys, the Gotzes and Martovs, the whole of that fraternity of heroes of bourgeois swindling or bourgeois skepticism, avenged themselves on the working class of Russia for having had the audacity to take power. Of course, not weeks but long months and years are required for a new social class, especially a class which up to now has been oppressed and crushed by poverty and ignorance, to get used to its new position. Look around, organize its work, and promote its own organizers. It is understandable that the party which leads the revolutionary proletariat has not been able to acquire the experience and habits of large organizational undertakings embracing millions and tens of millions of citizens. The remolding of the old, almost exclusively agitators' habits is a very lengthy process. But there is nothing impossible in this, and as soon as the necessity for a change is clearly appreciated, as soon as there is firm determination to effect the change and perseverance in pursuing a great and difficult aim, we shall achieve it. There is an enormous amount of organizing talent among the people, i.e. among the workers and the peasants, who do not exploit the labor of others. Capital crushed these talented people in thousands. It killed their talent and threw them onto the scrap heap. We are not yet able to find them, encourage them, put them on their feet, promote them, but we shall learn to do so if we set about it with all-out revolutionary enthusiasm, without which there could be no victorious revolutions. No profound and mighty popular movement has ever occurred in history without dirty scum rising to the top, without adventurers and rogues, boasters and ranters, attaching themselves to the inexperienced innovators, without absurd muddle and fuss, without individual leaders trying to deal with 20 matters at once and not finishing any of them. Let the lapdogs of bourgeois society, from Belorozov to Martov, squeal and yelp about every extra chip that is sent flying and cutting down the big old wood. What else are lapdogs for if not to yelp at the proletarian elephant? Let them yelp. We shall go our way and try as carefully and as patiently as possible to test and discover real organizers, people with sober and practical minds, people who combine loyalty to socialism with ability without fuss, and in spite of muddle and fuss, to get a large number of people working together steadily and concertedly within the framework. Oh, I was nearly done there and I accidentally moved the page. In spite of muddle and fuss, to get a large number of people working together steadily and concertedly within the framework of Soviet organization. Only such people, after they have been tested a dozen times by being transferred from the simplest to the more difficult task, should be promoted to the responsible posts of leaders of the people's labor, leaders of administration. We have not yet learned to do this, but we shall learn. Okay, yeah, so that is the organization of competition. This was in 1918, right at the beginning of the, about a year into Russia's revolution, where they were fighting off not only the, the White Army and the, the kulaks who were intentionally causing famines, but also a lot of different imperialist governments were invading, United Kingdom, the United States, Poland, Japan, all these different governments that were, under the dictation of capital, of global capital, did not want to lose Russia, but the Russian people prevailed, and this is how they did it. So this is an important part of, Russian history, world history, and, very much world history. And because we'd never had a government like this until this time on Earth. So not in the post-colonial world, this is when the post-colonial world began. This is actually when it really began. It created an economic system that was sustainable and what generated production to maintain countries to where they couldn't be defeated by colonialism. They couldn't be weakened. They couldn't be attacked. And that's the direction the world is going in. So yeah, well, thank y'all for tuning in. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, Medium. Hit me up there. This is Marxist Follow me there. Y'all have a great day and Dodala Goy.